So one of my European friends asked me why Americans love guns so much. He asked me this while I was cleaning my 1911. I have a Rock Island Armory 1911 with about $200 worth of custom parts in it. I actually have it right here. In my nice, wonderful shoulder holster. It's a beautiful, beautiful gun. Could be better looking, but still, yeah. And the shoulder holster, nice. Worth every penny. Now, I was cleaning it, talking to him, having just a good old time, and he asked me this question, and I'm like, well, what do you know about America? Well, we're a small country who took on, at the time, the greatest empire on earth, and the reason why they lost was they didn't want to throw in the resources and the money involved with it. Understandable. Why the king just said, fuck it. Every time a motorcycle passes by, I get really jealous because I want one. In case you heard that. Now, the thing that started the whole thing, because I mean, originally the Americas wanted to settle this off somewhat peacefully. I mean, you had the Sons of Liberty throwing that wonderful Boston Tea Party, among other things, but I mean, you had a couple guys who were nice and a couple guys who were just complete dicks. And because of that giant divide between England and the colonies, the cultures evolved completely differently, and the colonists pretty much decided, fuck you, we don't need you anymore. If you're going to impose such evil laws on us. Now, if you continue on with that, what really started this thing was the British tried to take away the guns of the colonists. This was also at the time where we had to worry about Indians and other things of that nature, and the state militias would usually hand out guns to people who didn't have them if you wanted to join. And you got to keep them. And when they tried to take the guns, that pissed a lot of people off, because at that point in time, if you didn't hunt and if you didn't fish, you didn't eat. That's not what the Second Amendment's about. So, they looked at the king as a tyrant, and after the war was over, they thought, okay, what can we do to stop this from happening again? You put the fear into the tyrant by allowing the ordinary citizen to point a gun at him. So, when the TYT were freaking out over Larry Pratt saying, oh, it's a good thing they're just a little bit intimidated that you might get shot. That's exactly what the Second Amendment was for. If there's a politician acting really crummy, circumventing law and due process on everything, just doing whatever the fuck they want, you threaten them in order to preserve your liberty and your way of life. But it's supposed to be a last-ditch effort. I mean, if going to certain people doesn't work, protesting doesn't work, you get the fucking guns out. Which is why every single time someone brings up anti-gun legislation here in the United States, people freak the fuck out and are ready to pack their bags and march to wherever that person's at and kill them. But it never comes out to that point, because usually they back off. Which is why so many people right now are staring at Connecticut. Because they want to ban assault rifles. And the Connecticut citizens do not. Just the politicians. Another thing is that we looked at examples in history of what happens when you have governments take away the guns of the people. One of two things happens. Sometimes both. The people become subservient to the government. It's pretty much every country in Europe. And two, a lot of people die. There's an old saying that Hitler would have been a little-known footnote in history had fucking tractor. Had every Jew in Nazi Germany had a gun, 5 rounds in the will to use it. My mother was there personally. Because, well, she was born in that country and she was in high school at the time when Ferdinand Marcos declared himself a dictator and gave the people 2 weeks to turn in their guns or he'd kill them. He declared martial law. Now, why would a dictator need to do that? Why? Essentially, it's to prevent dictatorships and things of that nature from happening. That's why we have the Second Amendment. That's why Americans love guns. And me, my gun isn't anything special. I mean, it's nice looking. I mean, you get a basic 1911, you put a couple $100s worth of parts on it. Feel bad looking at my wallet. It's only 8-round magazine. Meant for self-defense situations. I mean, it's not one of these big assault rifles. Wouldn't a hunting rifle do the same thing? Why do Americans need these AR-15s? Well, I explained it like this. The thought process among that is that if the American citizen has the same amount of firepower as the military, or enough to make them think twice, it can keep the politicians from ruining our Constitution, ruining our rights, and invading your privacy, things of that nature, from becoming tyrants, from turning the United States into an Orwellian nightmare. And we're becoming that, and I'm actually quite surprised. No one has pulled the fucking trigger. I'm quite surprised. As such, that's really all I gotta say about the situation. I love my country. I love my right to bear arms. I know why it's there. And if the gun murder rate was really so bad, I would be dead right now. Because at least 1 out of every 10 people here in my town has a gun. You look at the mass murders, those psychopaths, it's always at a no-gun zone. Adam Lanza went to a school, no-gun zone. Nadal Hassan. The only people who are allowed to have guns on the military are the people who are training, and it's only while you're training, and the MPs. I believe officers don't carry guns anymore. If I'm wrong, military guy, tell me. Now, and of course, remember the Batman shooting? James Holmes? Out of all the theaters that he could have went to, he picked the no-gun zone theater. Why do you think that? So, it's also to protect you against robbers and murderers and psychopaths like that. Most of these murders that you see done with guns are gang-related. And their guns, they're not bought at Walmart. They're not. Really, they're not. You look at the top 10 used guns during the assault weapons ban and before, it was never an AR-15. Never. And it takes about 28 minutes for a police officer to get to your home here in the United States. I mean, that's average response time. I mean, me in my town, I live 3 houses away from the police department. I'm sure it'd take them about 4 hours to clean up the mess of my dead body had something happen to me. Now, what are you going to do during that time period? Criminals don't care about legality of owning guns. You got 1,000 gun crimes in London last year alone. And that place in England doesn't allow the citizens to carry handguns at all unless they're deactivated over a certain age. Which tells me this. It's up to you to take responsibility for your own life. Should something happen, you should be prepared for it. Which is why I carry a gun in the first place. I walked down the wrong alleyway once in Indianapolis and I wound up with a Glock shoved in my face. I couldn't tell what caliber, what model, or anything like that. I was too busy staring down the barrel. As such, I know why my rights are there. And I believe every free nation gives their citizens the right to bear arms. Without registrations. I hope this could have been educational to some Europeans. If you disagree, I don't care. I'm American, for Christ's sake. Yeah, sure, my country's been pissing off the rest of the world lately. But who the fuck's gonna invade when you got a rifle behind every bush? Anyways, I'm done talking. I hope you all have a good day.